ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the New York State Energy Board's public hearing on the New York State Energy Plan, being held here in the James and Betty Hall Theater of Dutchess Community College. My name is Nora Modonic, and I lead Arch Street Communications, a firm supporting the New York State Energy Board in managing the public hearings. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping considerations for your safety. In the event of an emergency and we need to evacuate the theater, there are two main ways out. The first is to exit out either of the two sets of double doors behind you into the lobby, and the exterior doors will be found immediately to your right. A secondary emergency exit is down front to the house right. As you exit those doors, you'll see exterior doors straight across the hallway, which will take you out to the loading dock area and then down the ramp to a safe location away from the building. In the event you or someone near you requires medical attention, please exit out the rear doors to the lobby, and there will be safety and security officers positioned nearby that you can get the attention of, and they will call for the help that you need. Finally, the restrooms are located in the same hallway that you came through when entering today. If you go out to the lobby and follow the signs for the bookstore, the restrooms can be found in that hallway just before the bookstore. So for today's hearing, non-English language support is available. For those joining us in person, we have ALS support, that's American Sign Language support, here on stage. Spanish language support is also available. Please find a member of our team. They are wearing tags that say staff, and they will be able to help you to find the translator. For those who are joining us via webcast, to enable the audio language translation, just click the CC icon on your monitor and then select the closed caption language that you would like to hear the hearing in. There are about 30 of them to choose from. ASL will also be featured on screen throughout the entirety of the hearing. Please note, this hearing space is an impartial setting. Promotional materials of any kind are not permitted in the hearing room, and anyone who does bring such materials into the hearing room or otherwise disrupt the hearing process will be asked to leave. If you have posters, banners, flyers, or other promotional materials, please see a staff member at the registration table. We will be happy to store them for you until you leave the hearing. Before we begin, we'd like to thank Dutchess Community College for so generously hosting us today, and I'm going to turn things over to Chairman Harris.
Thank you, Nora. Good evening, everyone. I'm Doreen Harris. I'm President and CEO of the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority and Chair of the New York State Energy Planning Board. We're thrilled to have each of you here with us this evening to provide your feedback on the draft state energy plan that was issued for public comment on July 23rd, 2025. I'd also like to thank Dutchess Community College for hosting us today, and specifically to my fellow members of the State Energy Planning Board who are also here and will introduce themselves very shortly. This hearing is being recorded and professionally transcribed as part of the official record. The recording and transcript will be posted to the State Energy Plan website as soon as practicable after this hearing. I'm also pleased that we've been joined by a number of elected officials. Thank you for joining us this evening. You will be testifying in just a few minutes. Next slide, please. The State Energy Planning Board directs the development of the plan. As I had said, I'm pleased to be joined by two members of the Energy Planning Board. I'll ask them to introduce themselves in turn.
Hi, good evening. I am Jackie Bray. I'm the Commissioner of Homeland Security and Emergency Services for the state of New York. I oversee emergency management, counterterrorism, state fire, 911, stuff like that.
Welcome. I'm Assemblymember Dee Dee Barrett, and I've had the great honor of representing the beautiful 106th Assembly District for 13 years. You are in my district, and I welcome NYSERDA and all of you. I very much look forward to hearing what you have to say. This is really extraordinary opportunity for people to weigh in on the direction of the state's energy plan, and I appreciate your being here tonight and those that also will send in their testimony by mail. Thank you.
Thank you both. On this slide, you can see the other members of the state's Energy Planning Board. We have been meeting for upwards of a year, leading us to this point, and I want you to understand that they've all been very involved in this process, including the public hearings that are underway this month and beyond. So I'll begin this evening by providing some background on the state energy plan and the opportunities to provide public input on that plan. After that, my colleague, Carl Maas, Senior Vice President for Policy Analysis and Research, will provide an overview of the energy plan. After that, we will speak regarding hearing logistics and including how you can comment today. All of that will take approximately 10 minutes, and we do look forward to that opportunity. I'll transition now to background on the state energy plan. The state energy plan provides broad policy direction that guides energy-related decision-making within New York State. It includes an outlook for the coming 15 years through 2040, with recommendations for meeting future energy demands that prioritize an energy system that is reliable, clean, affordable, while supporting economic development, equity, and a healthy environment. This plan certainly does build on our progress as a state in achieving those objectives, and we're certainly open to hearing your feedback on that plan this evening. The draft was issued by the State Energy Planning Board on July 23rd, 2025. We are certainly encouraging New Yorkers to review that draft plan and to provide their feedback either at a hearing like this one this evening or via writing. Public input received in response will be used by the board to develop the final state energy plan, which we aim to publish by the end of this year. This is the 5th of 10 hearings the board is hosting, as you can see here. And we certainly hope and expect to see others at the remaining hearings as you can afford to. Our next slide, please, to provide further insight into the draft plan. I'd like to introduce Carl Maas, and I serve as Senior Vice President for Policy Analysis and Research, to walk us through the draft plan's broad planning goals. Carl.
Thank you, Chair Harris, and thank you everyone for coming this evening. The board is excited to hear from all of you. I'll spend a few minutes just giving you all an overview of the plan, and then we will turn the floor over to all of you. So as Chair Harris noted, the energy plan serves as an opportunity to take stock of our progress, calibrate the state's energy projections considering economic and political conditions, and focus our vision on the 15 years ahead. I'll begin by orienting you to the draft plan. The draft plan released for public comment consists of 2 volumes. Volume 1 is the summary. It provides an overview of the energy system today, broad planning goals, and summarizes findings and recommendations from subsequent plan chapters in Volume 2. Volume 2 consists of the topical and analytic chapters listed here on this slide. We have also developed and released 6 fact sheets on key plan topics. All are available on the State Energy Plan website. So first, I want to give you a quick overview of our approach to this plan, which is focused on the following 5 overarching goals. First, to ensure a reliable, resilient, and clean energy system. Second, to ensure energy affordability and equitable access for all New Yorkers. Third, to drive economic growth. Fourth, to advance energy technology innovation. And fifth, to continue progress on economy-wide decarbonization. I'll spend a little time on each of these. So first goal, the energy plan puts forth policy considerations to ensure that our energy system can deliver abundant, reliable, resilient, and clean energy for New York. We will achieve this by maintaining a diverse mix of both supply, resources, and infrastructure. Diversity in our energy resources allows the state to meet our energy needs while minimizing the potential impacts of energy supply disruptions and price fluctuations in any given market. Substantial investment will be needed to modernize aging infrastructure, address hazards, and support economic development. And this is true for every energy pathway that New York could walk down in the future. I also would like to note that we are in a time of great uncertainty in the energy sector. The analytic modeling conducted for the State Energy Plan reflects multiple scenarios to provide insights on a range of possible outcomes. The plan considers affordable energy and broad access to bill-reducing energy efficiency and clean energy choices as essential for an equitable energy transition to New York's continued prosperity through advancing community and economic development. Even as we know that the average New Yorker spends less on combined transportation and household energy expenses than the average American, as shown in these charts, we know that we need to continue to focus on further progress in energy affordability. And advancing equity in our energy and climate actions means that New York is working to ensure that all communities, and especially people within disadvantaged communities, will benefit from the state's clean energy transition. I note that federal policy and financial support have been critical to energy affordability in the past. We therefore will need to continue to assess the evolution in federal policies over time, understand how they can impact our projections over the next 15 years. Access to reliable and affordable energy is essential to attract and develop new strategic industries in New York, as well as to maintain existing industry. Strategic industries like semiconductors and agribusiness have large energy needs and require access to reliable, affordable energy and long-term energy cost stabilization. As such, New York can promote economic development by meeting the needs of large energy users and investing in infrastructure and programs that can attract new industry, including clean energy leaders. Our fourth goal is innovation. We see the advancement of energy innovation as a critical tool to enable New York's energy transition. Innovation can help reduce the cost of and increase the diversity of energy technologies and services, whether by investing in emerging technologies in New York or by bringing existing technologies from outside New York to our markets. And fifth, clean energy faces particular external headwinds from both economic pressures and a shift in the federal government's priorities. Continued progress towards decarbonization and a clean energy economy requires a sustainable financial footing, further policy actions, and new technologies. As the federal context continues to shift, the Energy Planning Board stresses the need to be clear-eyed about what timeframes are realistic. And now I'm happy to pass the mic back to Nora, and she can walk us through the rest of the process. And maybe Chair Harris will speak a bit too.
Yes, thank you, Carl. While Nora comes back to the podium, I did note that we were joined by a number of elected officials. Thank you all for joining us. I'd like to start, if you don't mind, by hearing from them as the first individuals to provide testimony.
Absolutely. Assembly Member Phil Palmisano.
Good evening. President Harris, good to see you again. Commissioner Bray, Didi, good to see you. My name is Phil Palmisano. I'm the Assembly Representative for the 132nd Assembly District, also the ranking member on the Assembly Energy Committee, so Didi has to put up with me quite a bit, and I'm sure put up was a word she would use. As you know, I've been to several of these, and I'm here to say, just want to reiterate some of the points quick, what I talked about. Did want to reiterate, President Harris, we need 4 additional hearings, the Mohawk Valley, Central New York, the North Country, and the Southern Tier. They have been ignored in this process. They deserve to have the opportunity to come here in person to testify about the plan and about the policies that are impacting businesses and families alike. Definitely an extension of the comment period, an additional 90 days beyond October 6th. That's not adequate enough. We need time for adequate input. Talked about reliability. With the CLCPA offers an off-ramp to the CLCPA to pause if reliability is jeopardized. And we know the NISO has reported short and long-term gaps that need to be addressed. Talked about affordability, gave a whole list of affordability problems when I was here last time. But we know even in your plan, you talk about up to a 35% increase on top of the breakback in utility increases that residents here and across the state have been feeling. We're at a tipping point. We need to keep that in consideration. Oh, thank you. But today, my point I really want to talk about was land use. There's a lot of talk about nuclear in the news, and nuclear needs to be part of the equation. Just comparing that to wind and solar, nuclear is by far the best choice, not only because it's reliable, not only because it's dispatchable, but because of land use. If you look at Indian Point, which in my opinion and others was irresponsibly shut down, that was 2,000 megawatts of power on 240 acres. If you look at Fitzpatrick up in central New York, that's 800 megawatts on 900 acres. But if you look at the Climate Action Council plan, calls for 60 gigawatts of solar. For solar, it's 8 acres per megawatt. Based on the 60 gigawatts that the Climate Action Council plan calls, that would be 480,000 acres of land for solar panels, primarily in upstate New York and primarily on some farmland too. So that's something to consider when you're making your recommendations moving forward to the leadership on some of these things, whether it's reliability. And also, if you look at wind, it's talking about 30 acres per megawatt. So certainly nuclear is more superior on the land use side of it, and we also know it's more superior on reliability and dispatchable, because wind and solar is not reliable nor dispatchable. So I just wanted to take that as your consideration at this meeting, and I will see you in Brooklyn tomorrow night. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Assemblymember Matt Slater. Perhaps he'll join us a little later. Jen Metzger, Ulster County Executive.
Good afternoon. So wonderful to see you all here. And thank you for the opportunity to comment. When I was a state senator during the first Trump administration, I worked very hard to pass the CLCPA because it fell to states to take the lead in addressing the climate crisis. This is again true today. I read lots of references in the plan to federal policies impeding state progress, but there is still much we can and must do to meet our climate goals. Unless I missed it, which is possible, I did not see any reference to a cap and invest program. The CLCPA tasked DEC with creating economy-wide regulations, and this is one of the few tools we have to reduce emissions from key sectors like transportation as federal standards are rolled back. We also have an opportunity to engage with other like-minded states and build on the success of RGGI to align these approaches regionally. Working together, we can create regional economies of scale that reduce costs, expand clean energy supply chains, and create hundreds of thousands of green jobs. If there was ever a moment to work with like-minded states, it is now. In the minute I have remaining, I did try to keep it to 2. It's a little over. I just want to mention a few items I think are important to include. First, a commitment to oppose gas transmission pipelines to New York and any expansion of the gas distribution system, which clearly conflicts with our climate law. Second, a focus on encouraging economic development compatible with the Climate Act and discouraging industries that undermine it, like AI data centers, which create few jobs, consume unsustainable amounts of energy, and drive up electricity prices. Third, provide support for local governments to proactively identify sites for clean energy infrastructure and require utilities to align their capital planning with locally supported siting opportunities. Fourth, support research, trials, and incentives to realize the full potential of agrivoltaics and reduce conflicts between food and energy production. Lastly, I chair the Climate and Energy Committee of the New York State Association of Counties and like to submit to you resolutions passed unanimously by 62 counties on energy priorities, including expanding programs like Empower, which are essential for bridging affordability and climate goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brendan Lawler, Dutchess County Legislator.
I want to start by saying thank you very much for coming here, not only to Dutchess County, but to Dutchess Community College. It's my great pleasure to be one of the liaisons from the county legislature to DCC, and that's where I want to start. As we talk about investing, as we talk about building jobs for the future, it's really critical to continue to invest here in Dutchess Community College and other colleges throughout the state. The SUNY system is critical. One of the most important things we know about innovation and about job growth and bringing in people who will provide those jobs is having a trained, educated workforce. That draws in outside businesses and allows local businesses to rise, startups and so forth, which is really critical because we do need that new technology. I'm also going to talk about the idea of the transmission lines. Okay, transmission lines are absolutely critical to be able to get power from where it's generated to where it's needed. Advanced reconductoring is a critical aspect of that, since we already have the power lines that have been sited, they've been placed. We already have that in effect, which will be really good to actually increase the amount of energy available. Part of that has to do with the fact that within the next decade, the amount of energy demanded will double, and we really need to dramatically expand our ability to transmit. I would also say that canopies, solar canopies over parking lots are absolutely critical within this process. That allows us to use pre-existing spaces, provide shade for cars, and to be able to provide electricity at a local level as we look at microgrid components to this. And I would go ahead and I would also say that nuclear is not a good way to go. Nuclear energy has the potential for devastating consequences if there is an accident, if there's a meltdown. We have found out that we are on fault lines here in the Hudson Valley, and if we have one of those for Indian Point and we have a radioactive leak, that's the drinking water that I have and that my constituents have. That would be pretty dangerous if we added more of those plants that could contaminate our groundwater. In addition to that, when we look at the critical need of affordability on top of the sustainability piece, we have a lot of increasing disasters that are knocking out our infrastructure. That sustainability is critical, but also the affordability. A lot of my constituents are living paycheck to paycheck, so making sure that we can actually move towards clean energy while also trying to keep a cap on those bills and even bring down energy prices would be absolutely critical for so many of my constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go over the logistics for the hearing, for the comment period. As the chair said earlier, all input that we hear today will be entered into the official record. It will be reviewed during the development of the final plan alongside written comments that are received. This hearing is being webcast, recorded, and transcribed as part of the official record. Please note that the purpose of the hearing is to hear from the public and that it is not an interactive session. No comments or questions will be addressed tonight. We will hear a diversity of viewpoints from commenters, and we encourage all of you to please listen respectfully to all points of view. Each commenter will be given 2 minutes to speak. If you are using an interpreter, you will have 3 minutes to allow for translation. Interpretation, again, is available today at the hearing in both ASL and Spanish. We will first hear from those who pre-registered to comment. After that, and if time allows, we'll call on those who registered today when you got here. Throughout the comment period, we'll display a slide with alternative ways to provide input in case you prefer or need to submit your comments in writing. If you have any additional questions, please find an individual with a staff tag.
Yes. Nora, we have 2 more elected officials to hear
Absolutely,
from.
so we'll pause for a moment.
Thank you.
Chris Kennan, Town Supervisor.
Good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to appear here at your hearing. And I'm hoping that this can not fall apart. I am the town supervisor of the town of Northeast in Dutchess County, which is a community of 3,000 people, which includes the village of Millerton. And we are very proud to be represented in the assembly by our assembly person, Dee Dee Barrett. The town of Northeast is also been very active in the Climate Smart Community Program. We are proud of being a bronze certified community. This reflects the particularly beautiful and vulnerable location which the town has. We have focused on a number of aspects of this, and one of them has been ones which has been very interesting to us. We have a long closed landfill in our town, which we have tried to interest developers in putting a solar array on, and which we've had people try to do that. We've been puzzled by the reluctance of Central Hudson to find capacity on the lines that go by our town. When we started the process, there was plenty of capacity. When the application was actually submitted, there was not enough. And one of my recommendations would be for the state to find a way to have greater transparency on that ability. We are, in our town, are very acutely aware of affordability, and I'm glad that the plan speaks to that. We have a lot of people who are struggling with the costs of living here, the cost of housing, the cost of heating, the cost of transportation. So I'm very pleased that the plan speaks to that. We are also interested in the balance that the plan proposes. Having read through it, I do feel that it is trying to accomplish a lot in balancing the different needs for innovation, for affordability, and for climate protection. Lastly, this is not a town position, but my own. I do feel that the potential for newer forms of nuclear energy are worth investigating. It is a clean source. It has evolved a great deal since the days of 3 Mile Island. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you for your comment. All right, so as we move forward now into the comment process, if you registered to speak, you were given an index card when you got here, and it had on it a letter, and that letter is associated with the group that you will be speaking with. When your group A, B, C, or so on is called.
We have one more. Lisa Cole.
Oh, Lisa Call, Airport Advisory Committee.
Among other things.
Look, oh boy, not a good start.
Sophia, would you just hold it for her?
I can hold it too. I got it. Thank you. I'm Lisa Call. Thank you so much. I can do this. For the opportunity to speak. I am a Dutchess County legislator, but I'm speaking here on behalf of my constituents, but also on behalf of myself as a mother. I am very concerned and very sad about the fact that we are sending our children into a world which is literally on fire caused by climate change. And I am very concerned that this particular energy plan does not live up to some of the promises made in the CLCPA. New York State did something amazing a couple of years ago, a very bold leadership in the CLCPA. And some of those promises, I understand, are difficult to keep, but I really would hope that in this plan we would have tried to do better to really meet some of those recommendations. We know that fossil gas contributes 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions in New York State, and we really need a plan for an orderly, efficient downsizing of the gas system. And that is something that I think would allow us to meet our climate goals, and I think this particular plan does not do enough of that. In Dutchess County, we have an incinerator, and one of the reasons why we can't make a decision on the future of the incinerator is because we do not have any clear, reliable information on the cap and invest scheme and what it's going to cost to run something like the incinerator in the future. And we know that the transition to an economy that runs on clean, renewable power will cost money up front, but it is an investment. So it would be really helpful for this plan to include clear directions on the cap and invest scheme or any other mechanism through which we are going to fund this transition. What I do love about this plan, and these are some things that my assembly member has proudly supported, are that it ensures that we keep low and moderate energy income programs like the Empower program fully funded and sustained to meet future growth. We ensure that the energy affordability program is fully funded and fully enrolled in, and we ensure that robust, green, affordable pre-electrification funding is provided to upgrade homes that wouldn't otherwise qualify for energy efficiency measures. This is really about affordability. We have to provide people the resources to be able to make the transition, And because of the looming costs of climate change, we cannot afford to ignore that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Sophia, could you grab that, please? So I'll go back over the instructions. So when your group, either A or B or C, is called, please line up behind the microphone for your group. We have 2 microphones available. Could my partners in crime raise their hands, please? So you'll either line up behind Sophia or Susanna. Susanna, could you let them know who you are? Thank you. If you're unable to walk to the microphone, just raise your hand and a facilitator will come to assist you. We'll bring you the mic. When it's your turn, please hand your index card to the facilitator. The facilitator will then read your name, start a timer for 2 minutes when you're ready to speak, 3 minutes if you're using an interpreter, and we will hold the mic for you. You'll receive a 30-second warning before your time ends so that you have a chance to wrap up. And if you don't finish, we'll encourage you to submit the remainder of your comment in writing. So again, we're going to hear from those who pre-registered first, and after that, we'll call on those who registered today as time allows. If you did not pre-register but you would like to speak, please visit the check-in table just outside the auditorium and let a staff member know. We'll add you to the list if time permits. Okay, let's get started with Group A. Please line up with Sophia. Right here.
Daniel Atana.
Oh, okay. Daniel Atona, political coordinator at For the Many. I'm a union member who lives in the city of Poughkeepsie. We're in an era of misinformation fueled by billionaires who use their multinational media conglomerates and social media algorithms to distort facts. They want us to be confused and divided so they get richer while polluting our planet. So let me say a simple but important truth. Climate change is real. No matter what Elon Musk or the Business Council of New York says, climate change is real. The World Meteorological Organization confirmed that 2024 was the warmest year on record, based on 6 international data sets. The second warmest year was 2023. The Hudson River is rising, which is affecting the drinking water for the Hudson 7. The Beacon train station floods when it rains, sometimes making the station unusable. Last year, there were wildfires in Dutchess, Orange, and Ulster counties at the same time, which made the air unbreathable, and droughts were drying up New York City's upstate reservoirs. This is a climate emergency, a 5-alarm fire for our entire planet. Our billionaire fascist president is denying science and setting us back by decades on climate policy. We need New York to do more, or we are doomed. New York must reach its CLCPA Climate Act mandates. I know the Business Council is lobbying Governor Hochul and the legislature, telling them to go slower. That's wrong. We need to move faster. We need wind, solar, and geothermal, not expensive, outdated fossil fuels. New York needs to deny pipeline permits. The Williams pipeline would bring filthy frack gas into our state. NYPA needs to build 15 gigawatts of publicly owned renewable energy projects. The public sector must intervene. We need the Hudson Valley Power Authority, a public takeover of our greedy for-profit utility, Central Hudson. We need the state to invest in public transit and help move the Dutchess County public transit to be fare-free. The state should help local governments like Poughkeepsie fund municipal composting programs. In everything we do, we must prioritize creating green union jobs. Together, the climate movement helped pass the CLCPA, All-Electric Buildings Act, Build Public Renewables Act, and repeal of the 100-foot rule. We demand a state energy plan that reflects state law.
Thank you for your comment.
Melissa Hoffman.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I'm an organizer with Food and Water Watch, and we are disappointed in the energy plan because it does not meet the needs that New York has in order to actually achieve our climate goals. I'm incredibly frustrated with the fact that Governor Hochul seems to be meeting with Trump on approving new fracked gas pipelines in New York. Why is the federal government intervening in New York state law? There's the Williams-Nessie pipeline that has been fast-tracked through New York. There was no public hearing for the pipeline in New York. There was a very short comment period, shorter than any other comment period for a major project like that. And if the Williams pipeline will be built, it's going to completely destroy the New York Harbor, the Rockaway Beach, and marine life in that area down in New York City. Governor Hochul has the power to stop these pipelines. She has the power to deny permits for the new pipelines. She has the power to stand up to Trump, calling the Department of Environmental Conservation to no longer allow any more permits for fracked gas projects like pipelines, power plants, anything that burns fossil fuels and burns fracked gas through our state. We banned fracking years ago in New York, but we're still allowing fracked gas. It's insane. It's horrible that we are going to let New Yorkers die from the climate crisis by continuing to exacerbate the expansion of fracked gas pipelines. Governor Hochul needs to deny all new pipelines, including the Williams-Nessie pipeline, and stop New Yorkers from dying from wildfires and floods and air pollution. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Do we have anyone else from Group A? No? Susanna, could you take Group B?
Roberta Clemens.
My name is Roberta Clemens. I'm a member of the Sierra Club. The CLCPA is an innovative and proactive legislation. We don't need a completely different energy plan. We need to implement the mandates of the CLCPA. It is unlawful to break these mandates from the legislature. Agrivoltaics, rooftop solar panels, and commercial and warehouse and other large buildings and onshore and offshore wind energy are the things that will save us. We have to follow through on our commitment to making all new construction, both commercial and residential, zero net energy use. And new installations in existing structures can be retrofitted when a replacement system is needed. Natural gas is not the answer. The state energy plan was to recommend elimination of the gas utility obligation to serve. It is outdated and requires expensive, wasteful, and unnecessary infrastructure and unnecessarily impedes progress of sustainable renewable energy. Substituting nuclear energy and/or natural gas for oil and fossil fuels only trades one environmental disaster for another and will not solve the problem. In addition to the environmental damage they will cause, these methods are not cost effective and their excessive costs will be passed on to taxpayers and the consumer, benefiting only corporate interests. Public utilities are for the public good, and while partnerships are necessary, remember that corporations are working for us, not the other way around. Money can also be made using renewable energy. New York is a nationwide leader in the fight to address climate change, and we should remain so. We are not going to win any battles by lowering our standards. Additionally, AI, data centers, and Bitcoin mining should be properly regulated since unnecessary use of electricity is happening. Private companies need to be held to the same standard of clean energy and should not be allowed to privately use coal, nuclear, and fossil fuels for their excessive desires. Poorly regulated situations target low-income and underrepresented minority populations and cause serious health problems and economic instability. Haven't you noticed there are hardly any birds, there are no insects? You know that without insects the earth collapses and birds are the canary in the coal mine. It's a symptom of the imminent demise of our earth and society as we know it. And finally, I want to request a study comparing bird deaths and other ecological impacts between wind and solar and the fossil fuel industry.
Thank you for your comment.
Neva Ravita.
Hello. I live nearby here in the Hudson Valley. My voice is small, but I raise it as a Sierra Club volunteer to express my deep disappointment that the draft state energy plan makes so little effort to meet the mandates of the law, the CLCPA. With this plan, New York State falls further behind in its required goals to move from burning fossil fuels to clean, renewable, pollution-free energy of solar and wind. That fuel is free, and it doesn't pollute. Where's the climate leadership that the CLCPA is supposed to embody if we follow this plan? All our well-beings and those of the future generations hang in the balance based on what we do to fight climate change. The New York Climate Action Council prepared a reasoned, comprehensive scoping plan at the end of 2022 that listed the actions for New York to meet its CLCPA climate mandates. That's 3 years ago, but the state energy plan disregards the result of those endeavors setting aside concrete but behind the concrete plans that it put forward. The federal government is actively pushing our nation backwards on climate and 21st century energy issues, which is all the more reason to provide leadership in clean energy build-out. This draft plan should follow the net zero CA scenario, which more accurately matches the goals of the CLCPA. The plan does not put forth a strong vision to advance solar, wind, and battery energy storage. All this while the demands produced by AI, data centers, and the crypto mining drive up demand and so electricity's price. Worried about intermittency with renewable energy? Well, battery storage is cheaper and safer than ever, and the costs keep dropping. Nuclear is clearly not the answer. Too expensive, too slow, too unproven, and dangerous. New York State and our nation need a draft energy plan that's ambitious, bold, and strong, using clean technology to provide for the climate, to fight climate change, and making electricity affordable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clifton Smith.
Okay. While there is no pipeline named Franklin Gas Pipeline, a concentration and natural gas pipeline project impacted by Franklin Town Square in New Jersey is moving forward, and Northeast Shipping and ESE project will add the concession. Stop calling me in 5 minutes. Sorry, you call me. Come on now. Sorry.
Take your time.
They're calling me back to back. All right. Okay, so project will add a compressing station in Franklin Townsend and extend William extending Tosco pipeline system, increasing flow in international gas to New York City. So which means that last year we had a wildfires in New York City, in Brooklyn, and we have to fire in Prospect Park. So which means that, and then there was a hurricane that was flooding, and then so in the summertime, so in this past summertime we have a flood on the subway, on the subway area. Yeah, I still got 30 seconds. So then we have, and then there was an error in the ocean. So we have to make the polluters pay. So Governor Hochul, we have to demand Hochul to make the polluters pay, period. God bless.
Thank you for your comment.
TJ Short.
Hello, good evening. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. My name is TJ Short. I am the president of Greener Facilities. I am the only disabled veteran-owned mechanical installation company in New York State. We specialize in facility energy reduction. I work in New York State buildings every day, and I think that there's a real disconnect between what you guys are trying to accomplish with the CLPCA and Executive Order 22. Most recently, I worked in a prison last winter. They were using 8,000 gallons of fuel oil a week, and it's primarily because there's miles and miles of uninsulated pipe and ductwork at these buildings. This is my 140th attempt at trying to get your guys' attention. I've been trying to approach New York State with an energy reduction initiative called FRETME, which is Facility Reduction of Energy Through Mechanical Insulation. I even offer to do these services for free, conduct audits in these state buildings, but you guys are wasting millions and millions of dollars annually. That's so easily fixable. I can create hundreds of green jobs, good paying union jobs by doing this work. This work pays for itself in 18 to 24 months in energy savings. I've reached out to almost every single sustainability coordinator in New York State, and none of them but one have returned my emails and phone calls, and that was from NYSERDA, Heather Saunders. I've been really trying to get this across. You guys have a big problem. You guys are wasting enormous amounts of energy, and it's just not aligning with Executive Order 22. There's a serious problem where the rubber meets the road. And I see it every day. I was in 2 prisons today, and there's miles of uninsulated piping. It's equivalent to someone going in your attic and taking all the insulation out of your attic and wondering why your energy bill's so high. This work will pay for itself. I just need someone to open the door and let me conduct these audits, and I can show you guys how much energy you guys are actually wasting. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Group C, could you join Sophia, please?
Catherine Mickich.
Hi, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Catherine Mickich. I live in Columbia County, and I am here as president and co-founder of Arcadian Alliance, a grassroots historic preservation and environmental advocacy group based in Copiague, New York. Today, rural communities are disproportionately being asked to carry the weight of solar energy development. We offer the New York State Energy Planning Board a viewpoint from the ground that developer accountability and community partnership is a prerequisite for a just and sustainable energy policy. Since 2020, Chicago-based developer Hecate Energy has been seeking a permit to build the Shepherd's Run major solar facility in the rural town of Copiague. The project would be sited in the heart of the rural town of in the heart of the historic farming and residential hamlet of Prairieville and adjacent to the K-12 Taconic Hill Central School. Denied once by ORAS, Shepherd's Run still faces fierce local opposition, threatening 200 acres of prime farmland, the New York State DEC-protected Taconic Creek headwaters, the nearby Rhinestrom Hill Audubon Sanctuary, and the viability of 5 National Register eligible properties. Shepherd's Run would undermine the local economy based on farming, recreation, and heritage tourism, causing economic and social burdens on families and businesses. Notably, Hecate needs ORAS to waive compliance with 16 provisions of local law for their 25 megawatt project. That is double what is required for the 160 megawatt project, Yellow Barn Solar. Hecate has been unaccountable, making inefficient efforts to work with the town or to build community, even ignoring the State Historic Preservation Office recommended mitigation plan. We asked the State Energy Board to adopt siting strategies that steer projects away from unique natural and cultural resources that contribute to the well-being of local economies. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you for your comment.
Sean Daig.
Great, thank you. I really appreciate you all being here tonight. Member Barrett, it's nice to see you again. So my name is Sean Daig. I live in the town of LaGrange. I'm a software architect at IBM. I'm also someone who has had asthma since childhood, so I deeply care about cleaning up our energy system, and that directly impacts my health. And it's a key reason that we got fossil fuels out of our home over the last 8 years, switching from oil to geothermal heating. In our home today, we've got a heat pump hot water heater and a refrigerator that both support demand response programs. But because our utility, Central Hudson, doesn't have any programs that fit into this, like these resources can't be taken advantage of for grid stability. We also have an electric vehicle that can do grid to energy dispatch, but again, there's no utility programs at the moment to support that. The most our utility is doing is a time of use program with a fixed 2 to 7 p.m. peak rate that was set like 6 years ago. But the uptake on that is so low that when meter readers come out to our house, they're sometimes very confused about what they are looking at. So we could easily shift a lot of our energy load, our water heater by hours or EVs by days, and I'd love these resources to be maximized, soaking up electrons when they're cheap and easy to move, and to have them idle or even returning energy to the grid when needed. There's so much opportunity and capacity in these distributed energy loads, but only if our utility creates the programs and incentives to do that. The New York Energy Plan is, in its current state, is missing many of these mandates, and I would really encourage adding that to this to make sure that we get the most that we can out of the distributed energy resources to clean up our grid and make it more reliable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thomas O'Brien.
Good evening. Thanks for having us, having this forum. My name is Tom O'Brien from Local 21, Plumbers and Steam Fitters. I'm representing 1,200 members. Indian Point's in our backyard. We've had many people. There was a tax break inside there. They were paying $36 million a year in taxes. Once they closed, everybody's taxes went up in that area. They're good jobs. There was 1,200 people that were displaced from that job in that facility. They are building more nuclear power plants that are safer. Europe, around the world, there's different technologies. You're going to be talking about thermal energy. You got natural gas and hydrogen. That hasn't even been done here. There's a couple of programs with the state colleges. They're going to do geothermal throughout there, and down in Mount Vernon, they got Con Ed is going to do a pilot program in a 3-block radius, just to show that it can be cost effective. The one thing is, I'm not here to bash one type of savings or another, or technology, but they all have to work together. Otherwise, you're not having it. We all know you need the sun for solar panel. You need wind for the windmills. Yeah, and then we could talk about the waste on everything there. You could talk about the environment that is being affected by both of those. But the thing is, as technology goes through, you get better and more efficient at it, and you can improve, but you actually have to do it. Look where we started. Thank you. We started out with a horse and buggy. Where are we now? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Group D. Please join Susanna.
Thomas Wright.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Wright. I live in Beacon. I would like to thank the State Energy Planning Board for holding these public hearings. When I talk with people about the energy transition, I refer to the CLCPA and its roadmap, the scoping plan, as the foundation of energy policy in New York State. This is partly because the targets and timelines established by the Climate Act rest on science-based targets necessary for a livable planet, but also because the CLCPA mandates that the state energy plan must incorporate and build on the scoping plan and can in no way undermine or weaken its key policy recommendations. The draft state energy plan not only slow rolls the targets, but appears to actually ratchet back the goals of the CLCPA. I urge the planning board to fully align with the draft plan with the Climate Act. The draft plan presentations have noted goals of reliability, affordability, and resiliency. This is certainly as it should be, but these goals point to even more rapid adoption of renewables, not the blithe acceptance of the fossil gas status quo well into the 2040s. The best path to these goals is the rapid deployment of renewables and batteries, which is exactly what was recommended in the scoping plan. We've all seen the reports showing the near miraculous drop in the cost of solar and batteries. The energy plan needs to exploit this to meet the 2040 goals for a zero carbon grid. It is truly shocking that the current federal administration has created chaos for the energy transition. But let's not forget that New York State is the 9th largest economy on the planet. Certainly we can leverage this fact to defend the CLCPA and the scoping plan. Surely we can be brave enough to defend and deploy the renewables projects we need to create a better future for New York. Certainly this fact can give us the courage not to be distracted by what someone else says is possible and focus instead on what we know to be necessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charles Thomas.
Good evening. My name is Charlie Thomas, and I'm the Northeast Business Agent for Local Union 798. We represent roughly 5,800 workers nationwide, with 811 residing in the Northeast region. With our upcoming apprenticeship program and the potential for new projects, we aim to grow those numbers in the coming years. We offer good paying careers, health care, and a 112% fully funded pension plan. I urge New York to continue utilizing natural gas as its primary energy source. With an unprecedented increase in energy demand forecasted, we cannot afford to jeopardize grid reliability. These projected increases in consumption, primarily driven by the global AI race, are likely to overwhelm our current infrastructure. We must not let that happen when we have the means to prevent it. Natural gas reduced emissions by 17% from 2007 to 2017, while production increased by 51% during the same period. Natural gas combined with renewable sources and innovations in methane leak detection and prevention can decrease emissions more than recently believed possible. It's a proven, abundant resource that can help meet current and future demands in the energy sector. The abundance and reliability of natural gas in the region can help reduce energy costs for both consumers and manufacturers. Lower costs in the manufacturing industry will also lead to more good-paying jobs in the area. Thank you to the board for allowing us the time to speak today.
Thank you.
Ralph Solar.
Hi, Ralph, with Local 798 of the United Association. I would like to thank New York Energy Board for letting us speak. Energy isn't just about ideas. It's about keeping the lights on, the hospitals running, the economy moving. And when it comes to reliability, affordability, power, natural gas beats solar panels and windmills every time. First, reliability. The sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow, but people always need electricity. Natural gas provides power 24/7, rain or shine, day or night. Solar and wind simply can't make the promises without extreme, expensive batteries and backup systems. Second, grid stability. Natural gas plants can ramp up or down instantly to meet demand. Solar and wind are unpredictable, forcing us to gamble on whether to keep the lights on. We really rely on energy built on a chance? Third, efficiency and land use. A single natural gas plant can power an entire city. To do the same with solar panels and windmills, you'd need thousands of acres of land, disrupting wildlife and the communities. Natural gas is concentrated power, renewable, or land-hungry sprawls. Finally, natural gas is cleaner option compared to other fossil fuels. It reduces pollution while still delivering the dependency and dependable energy our society needs. It's a common sense bridge fuel to a cleaner future. In short, solar and wind has potential, but natural gas is the backbone of the present. It's reliable, efficient, and affordable. The energy source that keeps our world running when renewables fall short. That's why natural gas isn't just better, it's essential. Thank you.
Thank you. Group E, I'd like to invite you to come down to Sophia's mic.
Joseph Halley.
Good evening, I'm Joe Halley and I represent Central Hudson Gas and Electric. At Central Hudson, we have closely reviewed the draft plan and we commend the proposed implementation of an all-of-the-above approach to our energy supply and delivery, especially the focus on delivering reliable, resilient energy through a mix of resources, including wind, solar, hydro, battery storage, natural gas, and importantly, nuclear. We agree with ensuring energy and clean energy benefits, but ensuring that they also remain affordable for all households. And finally, the recognition of the continued role of natural gas system and the importance of maintaining it responsibly. In addition, Central Hudson supports a pragmatic approach that includes the following: leveraging our electric system to grow the economy of the Hudson Valley, carefully transitioning buildings and transportation from fossil fuels to clean electric power, and empowering utilities like Central Hudson to play a greater role in responsibly developing large-scale renewable energy projects to help meet the state's goals. We need to preserve customer choice moving forward, including the option to use natural gas. As this plan is developed, we must maintain a laser focus on customer affordability. While tracking future societal costs and benefits is extremely important, we absolutely have to avoid placing excessive financial burdens on today's customers. Grid modernization and infrastructure improvements are currently financed on the utility bill. New York should consider alternative funding sources. And finally, we welcome the opportunity to work together to continue providing safe, reliable, clean, and affordable energy to the Hudson Valley. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rosemary DeCruz.
Hi there, thank you so much for having us tonight. My name is Rosemary DeCruz. I'm a Poughkeepsie resident speaking on behalf of Communities for Local Power. We are a Hudson Valley nonprofit advocating for a transition to a clean energy economy. We greatly appreciate the thought and analysis that went into creating this draft report. It's hugely valuable to have an understanding of where we currently stand in our progress towards New York's climate goals and what it would take to achieve them, and we applaud your efforts on this front. That being said, this current draft shows that we are not on track to meet our CLCPA goals, such as a zero emissions electricity system by 2040. This should be a wake-up call to the governor, state legislature, and other leaders. We must increase our investment in solar, geothermal, hydropower, and other green energy sources. The draft plan states that if we were to maintain the energy status quo, it would cost $120 billion per year to maintain. In contrast, a net zero system would take $160 billion, but would have $25 billion in public health benefits for every $10 billion spent. We must listen to our own research, invest the extra money in creating a net zero electricity system, create the policies and programs that will get us there. Not only will it save our planet, it will save our community members' health and happiness. We must fund programs that make solar, energy-efficient appliances and transitions to EVs affordable for average New Yorkers. Right now, we're seeing the federal government cutting these incentives and making it harder for U.S. residents to transition to clean energy. That means it's exactly the time for New York State to step up. We can't control what happens in every state, but here in New York, we can make clean energy jobs, meet our climate goals, and make our residents healthier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Strong.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm in Socrates, New York, speaking as a resident. I want to also encourage New York State to stay with the CLCPA and stay with the law and its ambitious goals. I think New York State can lead. There are two areas that I'd like to encourage progress on. One is with the Cap and Invest program. I feel like this has been slow walked, but it's really crucial in making sure that polluters pay and they can well afford it, and allow New York to acquire the means to move forward with green energy. I'd also like to talk about new infrastructure, including the pipelines. I have a little personal story. I have a brother who lives in northeastern Pennsylvania, in an area of farmland. He has allowed fracking to go on his property. It was installed by what was then Chesapeake Oil. And I got a little tour a few years ago, by him, which was interesting. I held my comments to myself, but when he said we could do a lot better if New York would bring in fracked gas inside, I thought, I love New York. Please continue to discourage fracked gas. Please discourage the building of new infrastructure like the Williams Nessie pipeline that would bring all that Pennsylvania fracked gas into New York Bay. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Could I ask Group F to come down to the mic where Susanna is standing? Thank you.
Beth Broderson. Thank you. I'm Beth Broderson, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak. I live in LaGrangeville here in Dutchess County. I moved here 5 years ago, and I was shocked, seriously shocked by the cost of all of my utility bills. And therefore, I became a NYSERDA super user and did all kinds of wonderful things thanks to the infrastructure, and that meant my green insulation in my attic and new floors, new doors and windows, everything I could do to seal in that heat, keep out the cold. And Then I installed solar, once again thanks to Energy Sage and NYSERDA. Solar, by far and away, rooftop solar made a huge, huge, huge difference in my costs. My costs last year were $75.32 entire year because I had rooftop solar. Now, it's a privilege for me to have been able to do these things, and I realize that. And for the vast majority of people, it's just not affordable, which has made me a super champion of affordability for New Yorkers in order to make all of this access to these resources possible. I read the entire plan with great interest, especially the electricity section, not surprisingly. And there were two things that stood out for me as perhaps opportunities for improvement. One is that I didn't see in the data sets a representation of the likely impact of not only AI data centers, but also AI training centers, which is going to be a huge drain. And I think that would be really helpful to call out. I think the forecast for demand, energy demand, might be greatly accelerated. Secondly, innovation in the plan. Thinking about balcony solar, what's the infrastructure required for balcony solar, something that makes this so inexpensive. Utah has enabled balcony solar. It's so easy, so inexpensive, so cheap, and I think it would really help people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa Ayacheta.
My name is Melissa Ayacheta. I live in Kingston, New York, and I am here as a citizen, but I also am the program director at New Yorkers for Clean Power, a Climate Smart Kingston commissioner, and facilitator of the Kingston Repair Cafe. Not too long ago, I remember making a comment at the Peekskill Climate Action Council's Hudson Valley Scoping Plan hearing in 2022. I gave my personal story, still true today, that I am afraid of bringing children into an unstable, unsafe climate emergency, one where they may not be able to breathe clean air, have access to safe drinking water, or be exposed to regular catastrophic climate disasters. I have heard this reason so many times from my peers on why they do not want to have kids either. We have little hope that people in power are listening and fighting to do enough to make a real change. Since the CLCPA was passed in 2019, I, along with my organization, have educated thousands of New Yorkers about the hope the Climate Act brings, the real and tangible law-binding targets these emission reductions bring, and ultimately an end to our reliance on fossil fuels. New York leadership is betraying my generation by watering down the state energy plan and going back on the once ambitious and nation-leading targets we were once so committed to achieving. And we already are seeing longer and hotter heat waves, wildfire pollution from Canada and California reaching us here in New York State. I don't need to wait until my hypothetical children are affected. It's happening now. New York State Energy Planning Board, you have a chance with this state energy plan to recommit New York to being a leader on climate and addressing this climate emergency. The state energy plan must follow the Climate Act by incorporating building upon the Climate Action Council scoping plan, which was crafted over 3 years by experts with extensive public input. Federal policy changes are not reasons for backsliding on our state's goals. Rather, they should compel us to move unwaveringly ahead.
Thank you.
Ian Donaldson.
Good evening. My name is Ian Donaldson. I'm representing the Public Utility Law Project of New York, or PULP for short. We're a 40-plus-year-old non-for-profit dedicated to advocating on behalf of low and fixed-income utility consumers. PULP thanks the State Energy Planning Board for the ability to testify here tonight. We plan to submit formal written comments by October 6th, but tonight I really want to drill down on energy affordability. The draft plan lays out an ambitious and necessary vision, but PULP believes that more can be done right now to make sure that the transition is successful for low and fixed income New Yorkers. The draft plan emphasizes the scale of needed investment, $120 billion annually under a no-action scenario, primarily capital investments tied to utility infrastructure. The plan admits that the past practice of relying on ratepayers alone is insufficient, but it still assumes most of those costs will be folded into the rate base and recovered from household utility bills. The modeling shows many long-term benefits by 2040, but for the nearly 1.4 million households already behind on their utility bill, owing close to $2 billion, the near-term reality is simply higher costs. That forces the impossible trade-offs between paying the utility bill, the rent, or putting food and medicine on the table. That's why the final state energy plan must put affordability on equal footing with emission reductions and reliability. Affordability should be treated like reliability because a shutoff leaves a family in the dark the same way a storm does. The final plan should also set clear funding rules, tapping state dollars, private capital and bonds first, with ratepayers truly as the last resort. And finally, it must cushion near-term impacts with bridge protections like stronger arrears relief, expanded utility bill affordability programs, and firmer shutoff safeguards. Pulp thanks the board again for holding this hearing and looks forward to submitting our comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tara Vamos.
Hi there. Thank you for hearing people today. Along with, I bet, a lot of people in this room, I testified at all sorts of hearings that went into the scoping plan for the CLCPA, and I worked with a lot of people that I see in this room to get the CLCPA passed. The fact that the work that went into that scoping plan by the panel of experts that came together and met over 2 years put together a carefully crafted document to do the complex task of moving New York off of fossil fuels in a responsible manner that maintained reliable energy supplies. That is being ignored is criminal and absurd. In 2022, 70% of New York voted to pass the Green Amendment. That shows you where the actual voters of New York State are on this issue, and Governor Hochul should listen to that. The only reason I see for throwing those goals in the trash in favor of giving more basic handouts out of the pocket of utility payers into the likes of the Williams pipeline operators is because we would prefer to pay off big energy over preventing asthma and saving money in the long term for New York State ratepayers. Is it worth thousands of children having asthma? Is it worth thousands of premature deaths? It is insane and disgusting that the current energy plan doesn't match the scoping plan that was held out. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I invite Group G to come down to Sophia's mic? Yeah?
Melissa Everett.
Hi, I'm Melissa Everett. I'm Executive Director of Sustainable Hudson Valley. We're based in Rhinebeck. We've done a lot of one-of-a-kind projects to remove barriers and build models for adopting climate solutions, from a 3-year NYSERDA-funded Solarize program to actually training EV dealers on how to sell the darn things. Right now, we are working on projects ranging from a refrigerant management program for the city of Kingston to a micro-transit plan for Poughkeepsie. I was thinking about, and I'll do more detailed comments in writing, but Senator long ago, James Imhoff, actually blurted out in an interview that he used to believe in climate change until he realized how expensive it was going to be. This happened. So I think our public discourse lately has suffered from some of that same confusion, that we are grappling with difficult questions about how to pay for the necessary investments, but we're not looking at long-term savings. We're not looking necessarily at financial creativity. So I echo what folks have said, urging you to lean into decarbonization, implementation of the CLCPA, back to it, serious. Building political will. I think there's so much communication going on reacting to threats, but not proactive public communication, not really reaching the heart and soul of people. I'm going to close with a quick story that we have a stream of NYSERDA-funded interns. 2 of them have just published an anthology. It's called Your Home Renewable, and they interviewed a dozen homeowners about the transitions that they had made. And the interns are all pumped, and the homeowners are all pumped. And I just want to offer our support and really encourage you to be of stout heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan Spiegel.
Hi, I'm Alan Spiegel from Cold Spring, New York, and thank you for listening to our comments today. In Cold Spring, we've seen increasing damage from increasingly intense flooding and severe weather events that is fueled by climate change. I've also seen the Metro North railroad tracks get washed away due to this flooding, and know that on our current course, it's only a matter of time until the tracks are underwater. They run right along the Hudson. And at that point, not only will my home be greatly devalued, but our entire community will be in trouble because many of them depend on that train to the city. On top of that, the climate effects, besides the climate effects of carbon pollution, which are severe and are my #1 issue among any issue right now, there's the health effects and the, nationwide hundreds of thousands of premature deaths due to carbon pollution, and more personally, my wife is affected by asthma. I'm affected by pollution, and we seriously need to implement the full CLCPA to the greatest, and even go beyond it. I also fought for the CLCPA, and it greatly disappoints me to see us not pursuing it more aggressively. Thank you.
Thank you. While we go get that card, could I invite Group H to join Susanna, please? Your spot's still there.
Betta Broad. Okay, thank you so much. So do you want me to hold it? Okay. Hi, I'm Betta Broad. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Organizing at the Association for Energy Affordability and the Campaign Director at New Yorkers for Clean Power. I also served on the Power Generation Advisory Panel to the Climate Action Council. The State Energy Planning Board should include the key recommendations from the scoping plan that prioritize policies to reduce pollution at least cost while driving investment in clean energy solutions that keep our energy dollars in state, growing local economies. The Cap and Invest program is the key tool for doing this. It will reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the building and transportation sectors and raise funds that can actually make energy more affordable while advancing an orderly clean energy transition. The state energy plan must be unequivocal that any expansion of gas, be it new gas pipelines, new gas power plants, or new gas line extensions, is unacceptable. It's imperative that New York end subsidies for new gas interconnections by repealing the 100-foot rule, as well as reject gas pipelines such as Nessie, which is in direct violation of our climate law and will burden ratepayers for decades to come with billions spent on antiquated polluting infrastructure. The plan should include recommendations from the scoping plan to eliminate or modify the gas utility's obligation to serve gas and instead redirect investments toward neighborhood-scale decarbonization. Sure, we should also fully fund programs that make energy more affordable and our buildings more comfortable and resilient while reducing emissions. Just want to mention one last thing that Ulster County Executive mentioned. In this critical moment, rather than shrink from the challenge, New York must collaborate with like-minded states and work together to create regional economies of scale that reduce costs and increase energy affordability, expand supply chains, and spur investment and job growth in 21st century technologies. Just as states are collaborating on sensible vaccine policies, so too must we work together on climate action and show the world that the United States is still committed to public health and a thriving clean energy future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Susanna?
Brian McElroy.
Hi, I hadn't planned to talk tonight, but I did come to hear, and I'll admit that I don't know this whole plan, but I read a lot about the CLCPA, so the first point I'll make is I don't understand why we're not fully implementing that. It seems that many New Yorkers, professionals, people in the community came together to form that, and there's still a lot of work to be done. A lot of my ideals are driven by progressive points, but I'm a conservative at heart. Conservation, the act of conserving. We conserve things that are precious to us. We should not be doing any work in gas pipelines. I understand why people want to save money and all, but it's extremely disturbing. And fracking, we've all seen. I know we don't have it in the state, but we can't even encourage it happening in neighboring states because we've seen horrors, we've seen sinkholes and such occur because of this. So Governor Hochul, the boards, the legislature, I just have to encourage you, do not make any short-term deals with the Trump administration for reviving these pipelines. You can't trust them, you know you can't trust them. And so please, just listen to us New Yorkers. I've heard a few people say they want it to continue. I've heard many people have great reasons not to. Please hear us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ellen Banks.
My name is Ellen Cardone Banks. I am a Sierra Club volunteer in Peekskill and have 2 grandchildren ages 7 and 9 in Brooklyn. I want them to grow up in a New York with air free from fossil fuel emissions and the greatest possible pushback on global heating. We celebrated when the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act was signed in 2019. It is a law, not a suggestion. To our great disappointment, the draft energy plan falls short of the promise of the CLCPA. It ignores important parts of the scoping plan that was developed carefully by well-selected groups of experts and advocates. The word leadership had been added to the title of the bill to affirm that New York must take the national lead in climate protection legislation. New York must designate a transition from fossil gas, including ending ratepayer-required subsidies for new gas access, promoting new and restored gas pipelines, and we need to put out the gas-fueled fires in our homes by phasing in clean electric heat and cooking. Electrified transportation must be supported. The state energy plan must reject false solutions like hydrogen and revived or new nuclear power. Cryptocurrency mining, data centers, and microchip factories must not be allowed to gobble up clean renewable energy or to allow fossil fuel-generated energy to continue in order to fuel them. Sources of funding to implement the state energy plan must be feasible and clearly specified. With the federal government having demolished the Biden administration's clean energy and climate initiatives, there's even more urgency on New York and other states that accept science and care for the public good to take the lead, as the law's title notes. The earth is our home and the home of the other beings we share it with. Our home is not for sale. Please choose wisely and lawfully.
Sarah Kennedy.
Hello. I'm really grateful to be here tonight because I truly appreciate hearing all the other people in the room who have been supportive of green energy and making a transition here. It just makes me feel a little bit better in this difficult time. I have long believed New York State is well positioned to be a leader in the fight against climate change. We must show the country how we can get off fossil fuels and get on to cheaper and cleaner renewable energy. I felt proud to be a New Yorker when we set all these goals into law in 2019 with the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. Now we must show our resolve and stand up to the Trump regime. We must not lose sight of our ideals. We must not slow down. We must reduce our greenhouse gas emissions quickly and make the transition to renewable energy now. There is no time for delay. In short, do not build up fossil fuel infrastructure anywhere in New York State. Reject this pipeline expansion. We have to stop this. It makes no sense for New York State. It makes no sense for the country, and it makes no sense for our planet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephen Bauer.
Good evening, my name is Steve Bauer. I live in Hurley and I'm a professional firefighter. I'm here to speak out against the lithium-ion BESS systems, particularly in the town of Ulster, which I believe is under NYSERDA review. It is the largest in New York State and 2.5 times larger than any in New York City, where, according to one local politician, the energy is supposed to support. The facility will buy energy from Central Hudson at a low rate and sell it back at a higher rate, making millions a year. 50% of this project is owned by a foreign company. There will be hundreds of thousands of individual batteries loaded into at least 240 40 by 10 foot trailers on 15 acres. The proposed 250 megawatt facility is within 100 feet of a home, 80 to 150 yards, approximately 350 apartments and condos, is within 1,800 feet of 2 schools. Lithium-ion batteries have proven to be dangerous and unstable. Thermal runaway is a legitimate concern and has proven to continue to be a problem. Hydrogen fluoride, hydrogen cyanide, carbon monoxide, and other toxic heavy metals are given off when these facilities burn. My concern is how much of these toxic carcinogens are we willing to subject our school children and our neighbors to. When these batteries catch fire, and they do, recently in Warwick, the guideline for fire departments is to let them burn. Fire departments are advised to remain 100 feet away, not because of toxic smoke, but because of the exploding batteries. And they burn for a minimum of 12 hours. This facility is too close to neighborhoods and schools. The hazardous materials left over after these fires or after they've gone through the life cycle show that these lithium-ion storage battery systems are not green energy. There are safer solutions, and I ask that the best systems stop being pushed into communities until other safer and proven energies avenues are utilized. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Pina.
Thank you for giving us an opportunity to share our thoughts with you. I'd like to let you know that I'm a senior citizen, just a regular person. I don't represent any group. I just wanted to mention that we do need an energy plan. We all know climate change is real. We also know that we have to do something about it. We have people who are experts, but we don't listen to them anymore. We're in a climate where nobody wants to listen to the expert. We have science, but science doesn't mean anything. We don't listen to science. We have facts. Facts don't matter. New York State has been a great state. I'm proud to be a New Yorker. New York State has been called the Empire State. And the reason we're the Empire State is because we take leadership and we do what's right for the people in the state. One of the best examples I can give you is when we built the Erie Canal. I know that sounds antiquated, but we took something that was an idea and made it into a reality, not because it was easy, because it was hard. But look what it did for our state. We need to have affordable energy. We need to listen to the experts. We need to use facts. We need to follow science. We can't sit back and do nothing because we know the outcome of that. We have to be bold. We have to take the risks to do what's best for New York's residents and to make energy as affordable as we possibly can. Okay, we have to make that gradual change from fossil fuels, yes, but we also got to be bold and make the change quicker. So I encourage you to be the leaders of the Empire State.
Thank you. Ask Group I to join Sophia. Thank you.
John McCrudden.
Good evening. I'm representing the steamfitters and plumbers and HVAC Local 21 out of Peekskill, New York, and I represent over thousands of members in the Hudson Valley. I just want to first say thanks to the governor and NYSERDA for advancing an all-of-love energy strategy, and we need a common sense approach here. I listen to everybody and all the interest groups. There's just not one solution for our enormous energy problem. I'm well versed in 4 topics tonight. I'm not going to talk about them all, but hydrogen energy is the bridge to zero carbon. Nuclear energy, whether it's going to be re-upping some of the existing facilities that are closed or nuclear silos. Natural gas, keeping the lights on for other families together. And the one I'm going to talk about a little bit is thermal energy networks. It's an overlooked resource that's beneath us. Progress must continue in the utilities of Thermal Energy Networks and Jobs Act, which are already funding upgrades in the Empire State Plaza. There's big projects in Mount Vernon and Troy, New York, which is going to be a great example how they take 6 city blocks and they'll be able to run heating and cooling through a thermal energy network, often referred to as TENS, utilizing geothermal loops, wastewater heat capture to provide heating and cooling within 0 emissions. Like the U.S. Department of Energy, New York should officially recognize TENS as a 0 emissions generation. Unlike other traditional renewables, TENS are 100% renewable and can deliver year-round savings for schools, hospitals, and large-scale industrial facilities without the strain of the electrical grid. They require pipe trades, welders, steam fitters, and jobs that are durable, AI-proof, and rooted in New York. The denial of clean energy and upgrades in certain plants may have people displaced. To accomplish this just transition, the New York should recommend the power to refit old fossil fuel generators with thermal energy networks and hydrogen energy technology to create jobs while improving energy facilities. Some key policy directives of the New York State to reflect recommendations are endorsing fast-track policies for PLAs for 64 campuses and major state facilities to make them clean energy hubs, training grounds for union workers, requiring thermal energy networks in all new housing, commercial, transportation, industrial projects, to direct counties and municipalities to integrate TENS with sewers and water upgrades to cut the cost and boost efficiency.
Excuse me, but I want to thank you for your comment. Your time has expired, and encourage you to send the rest of your comment in writing. I want to check with the audience if there was anyone who had registered tonight to speak who wasn't assigned a group or missed their group. No? All right. We're going to put the hearing on hold for a little bit while we wait to see if we have additional speakers who register.
he's just in reading, though. He sounded strong. But, yeah, he's not been around. Yeah. We had a whole briefing about their order. It was clear.
Yes.
Agency level training. They finally started employee security.
I was about to say, I'm learning about textiles, they do have security. Given we've had no additional speakers register, I'm going to turn things over to Chair Harris.
Yes, thank you, Nora. I will now be closing today's hearing as we are at the end of our scheduled time for today. Before I do so, I did want to ask my fellow members of the State Energy Planning Board for any closing reflections.
Thank you, Chair Harris. I just want to say that I really tremendously enjoyed listening to everyone speak, and I took 6 pages of notes, which means I'll ask you a million questions at some point over the next couple of weeks, but appreciate the fact that folks took time to come out. It's so important for us to hear directly from residents all over New York, and appreciate how thoughtful and prepared everyone was here.
Thank you. I too want to thank everyone for being here and for coming to Dutchess Community College, especially Chair Harris and Commissioner Bray. It's great to have you in my district, and for all of you, it was wonderful to hear from constituents and colleagues, elected officials, and from across the region, and really look forward to continuing this conversation.
Yes, thank you both for being here. We certainly do appreciate all the input that was provided tonight, and as we seek to develop the final plan, we'll certainly take it all into account. For additional opportunities to comment, please consider submitting a written comment or attending another public hearing. We will be accepting written comments through October 6, 2025, via our online form, email, or postal mail as shown on the slide. You can also provide comments at another hearing. Our next hearing is tomorrow evening in Brooklyn at 5 p.m. You can find the meeting link and other details on our State Energy Plan website. And with that, thank you. I will end this public hearing. Thank you again to Dutchess Community College for hosting us, and safe travels home. Thank you.